Today's episode of Ham Radio 2.0 is brought to you by Arden, the Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network. The Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network is an open-source project that brings emergency communications into the 21st century. With easily available commercial equipment, you can build a low-cost, high-speed network. Visit the Arden website at www.arden.org for more information. Arden branded equipment labels, embroidered patches, and apparel are available on the website by clicking on the Shop menu button.
Episode 110, 110, good afternoon. Welcome to Ham Radio 2.0, live from the Ham Shack. My name's Jason. I'm KC5HWB. It has been 2 weeks since the airing of my last video. I was at the Duke City Ham Fest in Albuquerque, New Mexico the weekend before last. I got home I got home like Sunday evening, and I just decided to take the week off and not post a video that following Monday. So this video is going to air the Monday a week after that, on the 21st. Yeah, Monday the 21st. And this is going to be how to set up an RFinder M1U, what they're calling the M1U Mic 1 umbrella device from scratch. Now, I've got my second, I've got two units. This is the one I've been using for, 9 months? Since December, I think, is when I got the M1. And this is my daily carry phone. Now, some people online, they're like, why do you carry that big honker around? Well, it is a little bit big, but it's useful, it's cool, it works well. Why not? So, let me start off by saying thanks to Bob, WTCYK, from RFinder for his support of this show. And I'm going to lay everything out here real quick for you guys, which I should not have... Well, I should have to say it. I should and should not both have to say it. And I've said it before in the past. I'm kind of beating around the bush here. There are three types of avenues, three ways that I get hardware equipment to review on this show. Okay? The first way is that the manufacturer gives it to me at no charge. They donate it to me, and they say, we'd like you to review this. An example of that facet here it is. It's right here next to me. Is this radio, the Baofeng Tech UV50X2 dual band VHF UHF quad display. So it displays the name and the frequency on your top band, and then the name and the frequency on your bottom band. That radio was donated to me by Baofeng Tech. Baofeng Tech is one of the sponsors of Ham Radio 2.0. They donated this radio to me, and they said, please review it. The next episode next week will probably be on this radio. This episode 110, while it's on the RFinder device, which I love, this is going to be like my 7th, 8th, 9th, something like that, episode in a row, consecutive episode in a row about DMR. I need to do something else besides DMR. So, I love DMR. I do. I love DMR. I talk on it every day. But Ham Radio 2.0 is not a DMR-only video series. It's an amateur radio video series. And I've just happened to be spending a lot of time and episodes on DMR lately because there's all this new DMR dual-band stuff coming out. So, you're going to see more episodes upcoming on DMR. But I'm also going to do one upcoming on Fusion. And I'm going to do some interviews about each of those. So stay tuned for that. But this radio was donated to me by Baofeng Tech, and they requested that I review it. The second way that I get hardware to review on this show is that I'm given a discount. An example of this would be a solar controller that I have upcoming for an upcoming episode. I'm going to set up, this is my ham shack, which is an actual shack in the backyard, in my backyard. I'm going to set up a solar panel. I've got a 200 watt It's either 150 or 200 watt. I don't remember. We'll look at that in a later episode. Solar panel to put on the shack. And then I'm going to run down into a 170 milliamp hour lead acid battery, sealed lead acid battery that's right there that I use to run some of these radios, not all of them, but some of them. And I've got a solar controller from DIYsolar4u.com. That's DIY, as in do it yourself. Delta India Yankee Solar, the number 4, the letter U like umbrella.com. DIYsolar4u.com. I met these guys at Dayton in 2016. Traded some emails with them, told them who I was, told them what I wanted to do on the show. They said, sure, we'd love for you to debut our product. Or not debut it, but feature it on the show. We'll give you a discount on one. Okay, great. So I never followed up with them, and they kind of traded emails back and forth for about a year. Followed up with them at Dayton 2017, which is about 3 months ago at the time of this recording, and got my solar controller. Been working on a video, putting all that stuff together, and going to debut that. So that's the second type of avenue that I get, how I get hardware on the show. The third type, and this is RFinder. The third type is I just flat out purchase it outright, retail cost, out of my own pocket, and I do a review on it. Most of the time, this is how I get hardware to review on the show. Most of the time. I get discounts from some people here and there. I'm given hardware to review on the show at no charge. That's pretty rare. It's pretty rare that I get hardware, new radios, new antennas, new this, new that, new whatever. It's pretty rare that I get something at no charge. It's happened before in the past. I would like it to happen more, obviously. I could review a lot more stuff if I could get stuff donated to me. But the RFinder device, when I heard about this device, and I went over this in my first episode when I did the debut of the RFinder device. When I first heard about this device, I emailed. I saw something on Facebook, and I sent an email to their website through their website, which is androiddmr.com, and told Bob who I was. I gave him the link to my video show. I didn't know Bob at the time, and I said, I'm interested in interviewing you on my show and putting it on the episode. He replied back to me within the hour, and he said, great. He said, let's do it. He's like, when can I call you? And I sent him my phone number. He called me. We talked for about 30 minutes or so, and he told me that several people had reached out to him to do exactly what I was asking to do, and he goes, yeah, I've been asked to interview. I said, yeah, sure, let's do it, and no one's ever followed up. So you're the first person to actually follow up with me. If we actually do this and put it on your show, you'll be the first person to have it. And I said, well, I'm sold. Let's do it. I think we had it up within a week or two. So at that point in time, I went ahead and, when I was emailing him through his website the first time, it said that these were about to release. It was the H1 model, not the M1 model. And I ordered one right there. I think my order was number 3. From the moment AndroidDMR.com was released, there were 2 orders ahead of me, and I was order number 3. I was the 3rd order. Pretty sure it was 3. It was it was a single digit. Number 3, and I've had one ever since. So there has been some talk in the past, and people on Facebook are kind of... I'm on Facebook, okay? Let me put it this way. Let me rephrase it. People who comment on Facebook can have what's called talking out of your butt syndrome. There's a lot of that goes on. Just pulling crap out of thin air, don't know what the heck they're talking about. There's a lot of good information on Facebook, and there's a lot of not good information on Facebook. So, one guy had commented on one of my... I put together a GoFundMe account to help me get to Dayton of 2017. It did not reach its goal, but I got some money from it. Unlike Kickstarter, I can actually do withdrawals. I don't have to meet my goal in order to do withdrawals on GoFundMe, so I did GoFundMe that time. And one guy commented, he's like, oh, the only reason that you like RFinder is because Bob contributed to your GoFundMe account to help you get to Dayton. No. The reason I like RFinder is because I like RFinder. Okay, let me tell you something really quick about this show, guys, and I have said this before in the past. Okay, I've said this before in the past. I review a lot of stuff on this show. Some of it that's really kind of junk, I don't even put up on the episode. I'm like, I don't even want this junk on my show. I don't want to create an episode that says, this thing's a piece of crap, don't buy it. See you next week. I don't want to do that. There's not any... It doesn't help the hobby of amateur radio to do that, okay? I have put up a couple episodes of subpar equipment. One of them was that Vero Telecom. I can't even remember the model number on it now. I sold it a lot. VR 4400. That one that looked like a copy of a Yaesu FTM 350. The receiver on that was junk. The display would freak out. And I didn't like that radio at all, but I gave it a fair shake. I ran it in my car for like a month or two, and I said all that on the episode. So I didn't like that one. But this one, the reason I talk about RFinder a bunch on this show is because I like the RFinder device. It's a solid device. It will do everything that your Android phone does. Okay, it runs Android. I always get the versions wrong. I can't remember if it's 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. I can't remember the numbers on it. It runs like the second to the latest version of Android. It is Android 6.0. I think actually Android 8 is out now, so maybe it's 2 versions behind. But this runs Android 6. The H1, the first unit that came out, ran Android 5. I didn't care for Android 5 because the H1 device was only a 16 gig device, and about 9 gigs of that was taken up by internal memory, so you didn't have very much room to install internal apps. They have solved that with the new version of the H1, which runs 6. And Android 6.0 will let you input a micro SD card into the phone, and you can create a new drive, or you can RAID it to the internal drive so that the phone sees an expanded internal memory. That's just a feature of Android 6. It's not a feature of the RFinder. It's a feature of Android 6. So you can do that with any phone that has Android 6. But this phone, I like this phone. It's solid. It works well. Yeah, every now and then we run into bugs with the RFinder device, the RFinder application. But Bob is quick to fix anything that you have out for him. So suffice, I've been talking for about 12 minutes, and I realize that some people get off-put by my blabbing in the front of the show, but deal with it. You know, I've got 7,100 plus subscribers at the time of this recording, and that number keeps going up. So I like to talk. I like to talk about amateur radio. And I like to talk about my show. And there's been some people that said, oh, that's that, blah, 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 blah. The reason I like RFinder is because I believe in the device. I use it myself on a daily basis, and I think it's a solid device. If I didn't think that, I wouldn't review it on this show. Now, you can believe that, or you can not believe it, and take that for what it's worth. If you don't believe me, and you don't think that this show is worth watching, there's a lot of other amateur radio shows on YouTube. I'm not the only one. I'm not even the newest one, okay? I haven't been around the longest, and I'm not the newest one, either one. I'm somewhere in the middle. So there's a lot of other good amateur radio shows out there. I'm friends with a lot of those guys, and if you don't like my show, go watch something else. Okay, but the truth of it is, if I say on my show that I like a product and it's good, in my opinion, that's good in my opinion, then that's what it is. So, anyway, get all that off my chest. Here it is. I've got a brand new, this is my first M1U. I've got a second M1U in camo green. You'll see that here in just a second when I switch over the camera. And we're going to set that thing, and I've not even put the battery in that thing yet. So we're going to put the battery in it. I'm going to power it on, and we're going to walk through step by step about how to set up a RFinder device with the RFinder application, well, with your Google account and all that kind of good stuff, and then with the RFinder application, and then how to do all that kind of stuff coming up. So 73, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the episode. There we go. This is my current M1. And as I said earlier, this video is going to show us how to set up an M1 from scratch. So this is my second M1. And I went for the olive drab, I think they call it army green. They may even call it camo green. It's not camoed, obviously. It's just green with black around it, like that. That's new. I don't know what that is. I'll have to find that out later. This is not on this one. 2 PTT buttons. This is where your SIM card goes, right up here in this top part right here. On the... And of course that's the power button. Power button. This is another PTT that I don't ever use, and this is the charging port. So, the devices are basically the same. The Bluetooth radio was upgraded in the green model. This is a later model. Like I said earlier in this episode, I had one of the first, but my order number 3 that I was talking about earlier was actually my H1. But as soon as the M1 came out, I got one of the first ones of those too. So I've had the M1 since like December of 2016. And it has a slightly bigger screen. In fact, I did a comparison video between the M1 and the H1 when I first got the M1. I don't remember the episode number, but you can go back and look at that. I put a fresh battery in here. I got, with this new order, I got a second battery and a charging sled. So I had my second battery charging overnight, and I took the battery that came in this unit and put it in the charging sled. Comes with 2 programming cables, a wall wart, and the antenna. This is a longer antenna than what... The one on the left is my stock M1 antenna from my first radio. This is the one that came with the green one. So that's a little bit different. A little bit more flexible too. The one that came with the first M1 was really rigid. That back together. Instruction manual. It's a cloth for cleaning the screen. Blah blah blah. Same old stuff. So we're going to power this one on. There we go. It should come up there a second, right there. It says make sure the battery cover is good to ensure waterproofing. Now this part takes a little bit of time to boot. We'll see if this one's any faster than my current one, I guess. I had a customer emailed me, I don't know, a week or 2 ago, something like that, and he said his device was frozen on this screen, and he had let it sit there for 10 minutes and it never moved. Oh, that was actually pretty quick right there. The customer ended up waiting about a half hour, and he said it finally booted. I told him that was not typical. Mine boots up. It takes 3-4 minutes, something like that, to reboot when I reboot it. But I think this one's got a faster processor in it too. So, got it. So I am going to, well, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my SIM card out of my current M1. Come on. Hard to reach down in there to it. There it is. So this is what's called a nano SIM. So, and I'm on AT&T. You can do this on T-Mobile. I'm told Freedom Pop will work. I've never tried Freedom Pop. Don't know much about it. But this is the SIM card. This is a nano SIM. So if you have a phone with a nano SIM, just take your nano SIM out of your phone and put it in this phone. If you got a larger SIM than this, then you can go to the AT&T store, and sometimes they cut this down. They've got a little tool that cuts around it to cut it down from either a full-size SIM or a micro SIM down to a nano SIM. And or they can just give you a new SIM, and they don't charge for it. AT&T does not charge to replace your SIM card. So we're going to put it like that in this. See if I can zoom in a tad. there's two slots right there that you can probably, yeah, should be able to see that. The board in the center, there's a slot on the top and on the bottom of that board in the center. The bottom, underneath the board, is where your micro XD card goes. Micro SD. Sierra Delta card. To expand the internal memory of the device. Above the board is where the SIM goes. I'll put that right here. Yeah, that's right. The SIM, the interface piece of the SIM needs to be facing downward. If I could get it, there it is. And then it's got a spring at the bottom, so you kind of push it down and it pushes itself back up. So keep pushing it down until you'll hear it click into place. If I can reach down in there far enough. There it is right there. Make sure it's down there all the way. It should not be sticking up. So it'll click into place, and you'll be able to put your waterproof cover back over it. Just like that. Zoom back out a touch. It says no SIM card. Still says no SIM card, so I'm going to just go ahead and reboot it. Probably should have put the SIM card in at first, but I wanted to look and see what it was like. And now we'll get to see how quickly it reboots also. So there it goes, comes back up to that screen, which it'll, every time you boot it or reboot it, it comes up to that screen to tell you to make sure to close this latch here. Make sure this part is pushed all the way this direction. And then that means it's unlocked, and you can pull this tab to open up the bottom once you lock that. So it latches here, and it locks the latch here. So it's kind of like a double safety. And this thing definitely boots faster than my other device. Of course, this thing doesn't have anything on the memory, so that may have something to do with it. SIM cards changed, touch to set up. Here we go. AT&T. Yep. Okay. There we go. Haha. That's a text message, so it is working. Now, I'm going to set up, well, I'll tell you what. Let me go and see that Play Store icon? That's the old icon. So I'm going to go into the Play Store. Actually, hold on a second. Let me go into Settings and Accounts. And I'm going to add my Google account, of course. You don't have a network. Okay, so let me connect it to the Wi-Fi. Yeah. I'm going to connect it to my Wi-Fi off camera here. Connect. There it goes. Okay, now I have a Wi-Fi signal. Make sure it's back in the camera frame. Now I have a Wi-Fi signal as evidenced by that right there. Data SIM not set. We'll get to that. Add account. Google. Okay. Now, as everyone should probably be aware already, my callsign at gmail.com is my Google account. Helps to spell Gmail correctly. Gosh, it helps to spell it all correctly. I feel like I'm Frank right now. Okay, there's that. Next. And I'm going to enter my password off the screen. There. sure it's squared on the screen there. Okay. Backup data. Sure, why not? Okay. Now I have my Google account. Data sim not set. Let's see. Mobile. AT&T. Cellular data. Sure. There we go. So I had to turn that on. It sees the SIM card, or else it wouldn't say AT&T up there at the top right. I just had to go in and turn it on. Again, it's been about 9 months since I set up my first M1, but this is pretty commonplace. That you got to go through this when you set up a new Android device. So, okay, there we go. This button here in the middle is obviously a home button. This is your back button. This button brings up your volume menu. So I'm going to go into the Play Store and go into My Apps and Games. And you're going to need, you see these all, right, 3, they all say update on them, so they all need updating. So I'm going to update each one of those. And the Play Store itself, the icon on the screen right there, that's the old Play Store icon. It should, you see it just updated? It had that box around it before, and now it's just the Google Play Store, and that's what it should look like right there. I can hold that, and it shows me everything that's open right now. I can go back to here, and it should show me what's being updated. There we go. 3 pending updates. It's updating maps, which is 27 megabytes. And you see the 4G in the top there? Some people have speculated, oh, the RFinder device doesn't do 4G. Well, number one, my original M1, this black one right here, did 4G from day one. Day one it did 4G. This one right here looks like it's going to do 4G from day one also. I just changed to 3G. I start talking about it and it flips out. There it goes, 4G. The AT&T signal at my home QTH is pitiful. It really is. I got them to give me a microcell. I've got a microcell inside the house in my office upstairs, so it's away from the shack. So the phone's obviously not seeing it right now. But the device will do 4G if you're in a 4G area, which my house is not a 4G area. My house is barely a 3G area. So that makes it difficult when trying to do stuff. But there's a procedure on the RFinder Facebook page that will show you how to update your device to 4G. I'll put the instructions of that in this blog post. So if you found this on YouTube, go to livefromthehamshack.tv and look for episode 110. And in the notes of that blog post, I will put in here link to instructions for updating your device from 3G to 4G. If it's not 4G out of the box, which obviously mine is. I've never even booted this phone up before today. So so Maps is still installing. Installed library. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here, and it shows, if I go into the list of apps, it shows RFinder. Yeah, see, so what that's a link is what that is. It's opening my browser, which is this Cheesehead Android browser. It's taking me to the Play Store and wanting me to install the RFinder application. So the RFinder application is not installed on the device by default. It's because these Runbow devices aren't made by RFinder. RFinder made custom firmware for them. So we'll get to that in a second. I let Maps update, and I let Google update, and then it came up and it gave me a notification in this notification windows here, and it said that Google will not run until Google Play Services updates. But Play Services didn't show in the My Apps menu through the Play Store, so I just clicked on the notification and it automatically came up and started updating this Google Play services. So you want to do that. It's 2 or 3 versions outdated, which is not a big deal. It updates just like everything else does. So as soon as we get that updated, we're going to install the RFinder app. Here's the top of the device. Got your standard SMA on the top. Comes with the belt clip already on it. I didn't put that on there. I wish they'd do something with this channel knob here, which works in the PTT application. But, oh look, what do you know? It's changing the volume up and down. It doesn't do that on my other device. I wonder if that's new. Oh. Touch the other one and it'll... Interesting. That's very interesting. That's good. Okay, well, now that dial actually does something. Maybe there's a setting in there that I don't have set in my other M1, but I never set it up in this one or that one. It doesn't work in that one. Maybe that's a recent update or something. So, this thing ever finishes. It still says installing here. Go back here. Okay, that's all. I'm not going to update Gmail. I don't use Gmail. I use Google Inbox. So, library. Now, again, I can go back into the phone, go into my apps menu. These are all the apps that I have installed by default. Notice there's no bloatware on this phone. There's no AT&T maps or AT&T address book or any of that other kind of crud that you can't uninstall from an AT&T phone. Same with Verizon, same with T-Mobile, same with everybody else. You don't have any of that stuff in here. So I clicked on the RFinder app from in the apps menu here, and it takes me to the Play Store through the browser, which I could go ahead and say install. Please sign in to continue. I don't want to sign into the browser. I want to sign in. I'm already signed in through the Play Store, so I'm going to open up the Play Store. I'm going to do it this way. You could do it that way. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't want to do it that way. I just got to go through here and find the RFinder. There it is right there. Install right there. It's about less than 5 megabytes. Okay, there we go. Now it's in there. We're going to open it. Registration info. That is, okay, so I'm going to enter this off the camera here. If I remember what my password is. Check out our new Continental preload feature. Okay, so I logged in. I have an RFinder account that's been set up for a year or so. Got me this notification here. Now I go in here, Android radio, it's set to zeros. Let's just close that. Go in here, I got Brandmeister hotspot mode. Of course you can, Brandmeister hotspot mode and Android radio are pretty much the same thing. The difference is when you go into Brandmeister hotspot mode and you click on, it has this select group button. and it'll come up and let you select, and it'll give you the list of talk groups. This is the prefix for the talk group. I'm in United States 314 area, so 3140 is Oklahoma, Oregon, blah 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 blah. Texas is 3148, and it populates that. You don't have that option in the Android radio over here. There's no select groups button, so this is totally manual, and it works fine. You just have a different option there. You must have Google Chrome. Well, of course, yeah, okay. So when I click on BM for Brandmeister Hoseline Live, it tells me I must have Google Chrome. I use Google Chrome anyway, so that's not a problem with me. I'm going to go, and I could have done it from that link right there, but I'm just showing what the whole process looks like here, kind of the purpose of this video. Google Chrome's probably pretty far down here because this is one of the first things I ever install when I set up a new device. I guess I could just search for it, but yeah, see all these AT&T apps right here? These are from older devices that I used to have. I should take them out of I can take them out. If you don't want them anymore, you can take them. It removes it from my apps and games. That kind of thing. So you can do that if you want to. I've never had them on my RFinder device. They were on my Samsung Galaxy Note 2 a few years ago. And they were on my, there's Chrome right there. Previous to that, they were on my Samsung Galaxy S3. That was several years ago. So Chrome's 36 megabytes. We're going to go back here to RFinder. And filter. This is where we use the GPS to find repeaters near us. So everything's checked by default. I'm going to uncheck 10 meters and 6 meters. I'm even going to uncheck 2 meters. I like to leave 222 checked because I like to see what 220 repeaters are around me. 440 I'll leave checked, of course, because this device is a 440 device. I'm going to uncheck 900. I'll leave FM checked. Uncheck D-Star. You can do this however you want to. This is my preference. I've got DMR checked. I don't care about ATV or weather or P25, NXDN. YSF I'll leave checked because a lot of the repeaters in my area are listed as YSF, but you never hear them in digital. They're only in analog mode. So if I uncheck YSF, it'll take a lot of my local repeaters out of the list because they're not listed as FM. They're listed as Yaesu System Fusion, even though they very, very rarely get used digital. Okay, I'll leave simplex and retain data. Save. So now it comes up, and these are the repeaters near me. See this one right here, this is the repeater I spend most of my time on analog-wise when I'm at home, and it's listed as a YSF repeater. You can see right there. I don't think I've ever heard anyone do Fusion Digital on this repeater mode, YSF. It's 99.9% of the time it's used as analog, but when you search analog in RFinder, the repeater owner set it up as a YSF repeater, and technically it is a YSF repeater. It's running in automatic in AMS mix mode, automatic mode select. So I could key it up with a Fusion radio and talk to another Fusion radio on it right now. So it is a YSF repeater, but it just never gets used on digital. There's the South Lake DMR repeater. There's the Colleyville DMR repeater. All the rest of these are all FM. There's the Mansfield 220 repeater. So that is that. We can go in here, Echo Link nodes worldwide. RFinder interfaces really with Echo Link really well. It takes a second to pull this down just because there's so many of them. Social check-ins. Oh, this is where you can check who's checked into what repeater. You can check into repeaters through RFinder the same way that you can you check in through like Facebook or something. So you can do that with RFinder also. Call sign lookup. Feeds from FCC database there. social settings. You can tell it to log into Twitter and Facebook. You can post it to APRS. Some really cool stuff there. Location override. You can enter your manual longitude and latitude location. You can look up a location. That's useful if you want to add a new repeater to the database that's not there. Continental preload. This is cool. I clicked on the wrong thing. Continental preload is good because it will pull down to the device the DMR Mark subscriber database. So I'm just going to do North America. It's preloading North America. Now, the reason Continental preload is useful is if you are out and away from an area that does not have cell service or Wi-Fi. So if you're out in the woods somewhere and you're talking you're talking on an analog or a DMR repeater, or say that, say you've got a hotspot on another network. Okay, say we're on AT&T here, and AT&T does not have a signal out in the woods somewhere, but you've got a hotspot on Verizon. So you've got a mobile hotspot on Verizon and a DMR hotspot connected to that Verizon hotspot, and you're talking into the Brandmeister or the DMR Plus network. You can see who's talking, okay, because you're online. But if you don't have a connection to the device does a real-time lookup for talker alias, this last heard line right here. It'll tell you, talker alias will tell you who's talking when you're on Brandmeister, talking to another station, as long as there is internet access actively live on the RFinder device. So Continental Preload will allow you to download the current database so that you don't have to go to look up, so it doesn't have to make a call to look up on the internet every time someone keys up and you see their talker alias. So it's a locally downloaded and stored talker alias database, or contact.csv file, if you will, instead of using the default RFinder, which makes a web call every time someone keys up. And of course you have to have a web connection to see that. So Continental Preload is pretty cool. RFinder Pi settings. I'm not sure what that does. I've never used that. I think that's fairly new. I'm going to have to ask Bob about that. Subscription info. This is my subscription to the RFinder application, something which I recommend if you don't have. RFinder has got a lot of extra options in it that you don't see in other repeater directories. That's done. Okay. There we go. Chrome. Oh, wait a minute. That's not what I wanted. Here we go. Okay. Reset login info and set QRG. You can do an offset. If you're talking into a DMR hotspot, you can do a plus-minus hertz offset to the same way on the open spot. You can go in and do the connector for the automatic mode detection connector, or automatic QRG connector, and it changes with every radio. You can manually set that on the RFinder device. I'm going to go here and this. I do not have my antenna on, so I'm going to put my antenna on real quick. Okay. That there. Send to device radio. So after it comes up, it says powering on radio and sending parameters, and then your power button's on like that. Should be able to key it up right here. KC5 HWV testing. There it is. Just like that. And it shows my location, latitude, longitude. Hey Jim, thanks. I'm setting up a new RFinder device and just kind of tinkering around on the video. Oh, that was nice. I had to sneeze off camera. Appreciate it. KC5 HWB. So, there we go. Audio, last heard audio signal. Here, let me zoom in a little bit on that. Like there. It's too close for the camera. There we go. Now, here's my frequency. Radio ID is 0 because I haven't put an ID into it yet, but we don't need an ID for FM, analog. It's FM wide, power high, status PL tone is 110.9, and last heard is an analog signal. If this had been DMR, the last heard would show the name and call sign of the person I was talking to. And then it shows location right here, latitude, longitude, and my grid square locator. That's really cool. If you're ever out and about on DXpedition or Field Day or a SOTA expedition or national parks on the air or anything like that, and you have an RFinder device, it'll show you which grid square you're currently located at. Really cool. Don't have to look it up. It's all right there for you. One thing Bob asked me to show is that if you go in here to BM hotspot mode, it's got a refresh groups on it. And anytime you want to hit that, Brandmeister changes talk groups periodically. Not every day, maybe once a month, maybe once a week, something like that. But if you go in here to select a group and you can't find the group you want, you can hit refresh groups and it pulls down a new group or the latest database from the Brandmeister servers. The other thing to do is you can do, this is your custom build info here. This is the version of RFinder we're running. 2017-07-05 version 6.0. Now, let me show you on my original M1, I have, it's harder to see in the camera because the black outline of the phone makes it a little bit harder to see. I have version 2017-02-20, so that's February 20th, version 3.4. So this one needs an update. This one's got the latest update. There's two ways to do the update. You can do it manually by downloading it from the Facebook page, the RFinder Facebook page, putting it on an SD card in here, rebooting the phone, and it comes up and you follow the instructions on the phone. It's pretty easy to do, actually. It'll come up and it'll say, you have to basically wipe your SD card. There can't be anything on your SD card at all. You download the executable zip, I think it's a executable zip file if I remember correctly. Put the SIM card or the XD card in the phone, reboot the phone, and it comes up and it prompts you and it says, would you like to install this update, and click yes. The other way to do it is you can go in here and do a system update. Your local update you can do that from, if you're not prompted upon phone reboot, you can do this manually. You do a local update manually if you have the update file on your micro SD card. I keep saying XD. It's not. It's an SD card. Micro SD card. I'm saying it too fast is what it is. So system update, I can do remote updates, and I can do a version check. It's interference from the radio somewhere. Turn that off. Settings, okay. Find upgrade 6.8. I'm gonna not do that right now. Let me check. I want to send Bob a text message and ask him if I can do an over-the-air. So you want to check. There was one of the versions that came out recently. There was some problems with an over-the-air update, and a couple people did it. And I think it didn't brick their phone, but they thought it bricked their phone, and they were able to get it going for the most part. But Bob had to send them a file manually to load manually through local update, through the external SD card that you can put into the device. And he had to do that to get that update to apply. Most of the time that's not necessary, but every now and then there'll be an update that comes out that for whatever reason AT&T doesn't push it down correctly. Alright, so I'm not going to... I tried to get a hold of Bob off the air, or off the camera, I should say. And I can't get a hold of him right now, so I'm going to check. But I like to check before I do updates on these devices. Same thing with the OpenSpot. A lot of people are loading that beta firmware onto the OpenSpot, and for the most part it works fine, but every now and then I hear about somebody loading it and is like, oh, it messed up this and this and this, how do I get it back? And I'm like, well, I don't know how to get it back. Contact Shark RF, but this is why I don't load beta firmware onto my production devices. If I have a test device to do it on, it's fine, but I don't like to do it on my only device. So that is pretty much everything. So what I'm going to do now is go through and install all of these applications that are on my old device, all the ones that I still want to use. And I don't know what that is. Install that. PDF reader. Ring. Somebody sent me the email the other day and asked if all of his home automation applications would work on the RFinder the way they do on his Samsung. And my answer to that is yes. I've not found anything that would not work on this device that didn't work on my previous Samsung. Now, my previous Samsung was 2 or 3 generations old. Probably closer to 4 generations old now. But it would work fine. I've not ever found any... Like I said, I've not ever found any applications that would not work on this RFinder device. So that is the setting up of the RFinder M1 device. Okay, Bob just replied to me in text message about the auto update. He says, go ahead, just make sure you have the latest version of RFinder first, which of course we just updated RFinder. I have the latest version from the Google Play Store, so we should be good to go. He's excited. He says, this is a perfect opportunity to get a remote update on video, which of course he's right, and that's the purpose of this video. So, go into Settings, About Phone, System Update, Remote Updates, and it's going to search again, version check. Again, we're on 6.0. My old device is on 3.4. The last time I checked, it did not show any remote updates. So because I think the actual internal radio of my original M1 is different than this radio. This radio is supposed to have a new Bluetooth option in it to where the Bluetooth doesn't work for the two-way radio built in yet, but that's what they're working towards. So let's go ahead and upgrade now. Version 6.8 is what it wants to upgrade to. No idea how long this takes. This will consume about 1 minute. Please ensure the phone has enough battery capacity. No problem there. There it goes downloading. It says 1 minute. But again, the 4G signal is cruddy in my home, but hopefully it's coming. It looks like it's coming down pretty quick. It's probably coming down over the Wi-Fi. Because if I was out 20 feet from my home in either direction, that 4G signal would be full up right now. At least it is on my other device. Downloads. Please ensure that the mobile phone has enough battery capacity for upgrading. Brush warm. I don't know what that means. Brush warm. Okay then. OS update. This is a fresh battery I just took off the sled about 10 minutes before I started the video. Waiting for it to reboot. There it goes. Right as I touched it. I didn't touch the power button on the side. It's doing this by itself. Yep. Normal Android upgrade screen. If you've ever rooted an Android device, you've probably seen this screen before. This device here is not rooted, but it does have custom firmware in it. That's what RFinder is. It's custom firmware on top of the Runbow device. Alright, so that was probably about 4 minutes, roughly. I didn't set a clock or anything. But I cut out the middle part because it'd be boring sitting there watching that status bar go across the screen for probably about 4 minutes. Not quite 5 minutes, but more than just a couple of minutes. Probably about, give or take 30 seconds is about 4 minutes. So, and then, of course, it's auto-rebooting itself now. Alright, after sitting on the RFinder splash screen for maybe another between 2 and 3 minutes, it comes up to this screen. Optimizing app 21 of 28. Of course, that's 24 of 28 now. I'm sorry, of 128. Optimizing app 24 of 128. So it's going through its optimization process. We'll see how long this takes here in a second. Okay, after all that, that probably took another 7 or 8 minutes. Not quite 10 minutes. Something like that. So then we can go in here, settings, about phone, and we are on build 6.8. Everything's working good. Looks like that release was on 8.1. Shoot. Right there, 201700801, which is 2017, August 1st. That was about 3 weeks ago at the time of this recording. So I've got the latest and greatest on the operating system, hardware, and everything else. So that is the setup of the RFinder M1DU Mike 1 Delta Uniform. M1D is the model, and U means for UHF. They have an M1DV. And soon they will have, hopefully sometime next year, they will have a UV for dual band. And soon they're going to add more modes to it as well, besides just DMR. So thanks for watching, guys. Let's cut to the ending scene. All right, thank you for watching. Special thanks to Bob, W2CYK, for his support of this video series and his contributions to the series with his time to do interviews, and for making the RFinder device, really. Special thanks for that, because ain't no one else doing this. Not with the robustness that the RFinder has. No one else is doing it with quite as many options and abilities that this device has. Again, like I said at the beginning of the video, I really do believe in this device. I carry this one. I'm fixing to switch everything over and get all my, once I get all my apps installed, get my SD card transferred over. I'm going to start carrying this one as my daily carry and probably sell this one. I don't need two of them. But this is a fantastic device, as I've said in the past. I will continue making episodes about new products that come out. I really want to do one. Bob is working on a dual band tablet. He has a tablet now. It's called the P1, the Papa one, P like Papa. And it even has the option to put a SIM card in the tablet. You know, sometimes you can go up to T-Mobile or AT&T and buy 4G capable tablets for their own data service. So the RFinder P1 tablet has that capability. You don't have to activate data service on it if you just want to use it as it has Wi-Fi. So if you have a hotspot on your phone and you can want to use it mobile, you can hotspot it to your phone, something like that. But the battery in that tablet, he says, is a 14,000 milliamp hour battery, which is a 14 amp hour battery, 1,000 milliamp. Okay, so the battery in it is huge. So what they did was they cut the battery down, and they're going to be able to use that extra space inside of the tablet to add a second radio to have a dual band tablet. So that's what he's working on now. Well, that's one of the things he's working on now. And as soon as that comes out, I'll probably be trying to talk him out of one of those. Maybe not for retail price. And doing a review of that tablet on this show. I want to be able... The cool thing about the tablet is that it's, the screen's on it yay big. And then, of course, with the 35-watt amp he makes, the TDMA amp that Bob also sells on AndroidDMR.com, you can take the tablet and run an external antenna to it with that amp in line between the tablet and the antenna. And then as you're on road trips, you can take the tablet and constantly refresh it. It uses the GPS on the tablet to tell you where you are. It says, oh, there's a repeater. Click on the repeater, auto programs, grab the mic off the tablet, KC5 HWB, and you can auto program your mobile analog/DMR radio, Android tablet device, 35-watt out external antenna on the road. So you're going to see some more on the road videos upcoming on this show, because I started my daytime job is driving pilot cars now, which I think I've mentioned that. I've got a couple of videos recorded on that already, but they haven't aired yet, so more to come on that later. But the pilot car thing is going to be a perfect environment for having that Android device that uses GPS to find repeaters near you. I'm also going to be setting up a mobile open spot, a mobile all-star node, and a few other mobile spots. I have the mobile. You guys have seen on my road videos in the past the mobile BlueStack hotspot. And while I like the BlueStack, I do. In fact, I've always said the BlueStack was my favorite hotspot to use mobile. Put it that way. And it still is, but I've been using that Windows version, because I had an extra 7-inch Windows tablet just laying around doing nothing. So I thought I'll put the Windows version of the Blue DV app on the Windows tablet and just let the Windows tablet run the Blue DV app and just use that. Well, that Windows version's been in beta for like a year. It crashes a lot. It's not very reliable. I switched out and I put my Android tablet back in the car for the last couple of road trips I did, and it is better. So the Android version works pretty good. But it's not real good about reconnecting itself if you're driving down the highway and you find a dead spot for your cellular signal, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, whoever. You find a dead spot and your phone service drops for a mile or two, and then it connects back up like your phone does. The Blue DV app is not good about reconnecting itself. So I'm wondering if the open spot would be better. We're going to find out. Experimentation on Ham Radio 2.0. That's what it's all about. 73 guys have been blabbing too long. Thanks for watching. If you found me on YouTube, hit up my website, livefromthehamshack.tv. At the front of that website, you can subscribe to me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or my email list, 73, and we'll see you next week.
This has been Ham Radio 2.0, a YouTube production by KC5HWB. Visit our website at www.livefromthehamshack.tv. Please also stop by our Facebook page at fb.me/hamradio2. Be sure and subscribe here on YouTube to keep up with all the new videos that are posted nearly every Monday. 73s everyone, and thanks for watching.